Welcome back to the Cow Park Bros podcast. Jason and I are fresh off the segment about the season that wasn't for the Chicago Bears. Sorry to that, man. Matt Nagy will probably get another job as a coordinator. Hell, he may even get another sniff as a coach.
Uh, that again. I feel like we have, based on that conversation we had for the whole segment, we have like three other segments we can talk about in the future. That may be
That
one of them,
that
but not today.
that you, but you won't. Yeah.
No. That one I'm not going to talk about because it doesn't matter. So,
Well, let's talk about something that does matter and something that you can't cancel.
are you sure?
Pretty sure.
All right,
Pretty sure.
all right. I'll try.
Uh, um, so the news of the week in the new year was that the Chicago public school system, so the Chicago Public Teachers Union, actually got into a standoff with one Lori Lightfoot over COVID mitigation, um, testing kits, um, and basically making sure that there were some real measures to ensure that these outbreaks with Omicron don't get too out of hand in the for the rest of the school year. So um, I'm referencing an article from NPR. See it right here. Okay, by Joe Hernandez. Classes for Chicago students are in limbo as teachers mayor wrangle over Omicron. Dispute between the Chicago public school system and its teacher union has dragged on, with the two sides continuing to negotiate for an end to the work stoppage by the city's educators. Public school students in Chicago aren't learning again Monday, as the bitter standoff means classes are canceled for the fourth day. Now, this was dated as of the 10th. Teachers began refusing to show for their jobs in person on Wednesday amid skyrocketing COVID-19 cases in the city, prompting cancellation of classes for roughly 300,000 students in the nation's third largest school district. Neither side has announced an end to the dispute as the stalemate enters the second week. The Chicago Teachers Union has called for a series of additional safety measures to prevent in school transmission, such as a weekly testing program. So far, the city has refused to agree to all of the union's demands and have rejected teachers' calls for remote schooling last week, instead, canceling classes outright. Lori Lightfoot continued: the best, safest place for kids is to be in school. Students need to be back in person as soon as possible. That's what parents want. That's what the science supports. We will not relent. In addition to testing, the union said in a wide ranging proposal on Saturday that it would return to classrooms on January 18th if the district provided KN95 masks to staff members and students, switch back to remote learning if the city's COVID 19 positivity rate hit a certain threshold, and agreed to a series of other proposals. Our union is in a position of strength, and as we know, the mayor insists she won't budge right up until she does, the union said in a statement. Right now, she's talking tough, but with little leverage, particularly when so many see we're offering a reasonable package of compromises to secure in person schooling and more safety for students, families, educators, and communities. And that article continues: the district rejected other parts of the proposal as well, but agreed to some union demands, such as providing KN95 masks and offering monetary incentives to substitute teachers. Now, of course, there's been several updates since we decided on that as a topic. Um, but I've read enough. Jason, what are your thoughts on this standoff?
Well, yeah, correct. There have been updates since that. Like you mentioned, that article was from the 10th. Um, Updated as of today, actually at 2:13, as I mentioned earlier, that in-person classes in Chicago are set to resume Wednesday with a deal on COVID safety now being in place. And again, that was updated originally as of yesterday, but also again today. So students are expected to be back in the classroom on Wednesday in Chicago after 5 days of canceled classes due to a bitter dispute between teachers union and city officials, i.e. Lightfoot. The two groups spent days at the bargaining table in a standoff over COVID-19 safety, causing 300,000 students in the nation's third largest school district to miss classes. The teachers union elected House delegates voted Monday to suspend remote work action, while rank and file union members vote on a proposed COVID-19 safety agreement later this week. Yeah, so just wanted to put that out there when it comes to they did, as of right now, agree to start school Wednesday. And I will say, for the kids' sake, thank goodness for that. Although I'm sure they loved, that 5 day break. Don't get me wrong. There, as a kid, I'm sure I would have too. Um, but it's very interesting that as I mentioned on previous episodes, of course, episode 8, I believe, to be exact. If you want to go back and listen to that, people, that I find it interesting that this kind of fight and pushback when it comes to is in person learning better for students, well, and really faculty as well, when it comes to safety against COVID-19. And it's funny. They keep mentioning if the city's infection rates reach a certain threshold. What's the threshold? I think that's the information I want, which may be out there somewhere, but I want to know what's the threshold. I mean, because my initial thought when I hear that, it's like, okay, well, so if there's like a percentage shy of that threshold, it's fine. And they also mentioned that being in school is the safest place for students. Well, if that was the case, then why are the kids not there? You know. So I just find this interesting from both sides of the plate, the teachers union and Lightfoot. Now, of course, Lightfoot's going to come out off of this looking worse, you know, because it's how it is when you're, the face of this being the mayor. Well, and I know it's not a celebrity, and I know you're mentioning that apparently she got COVID recently, which again I don't think really matters in any case at all.
Oh no. That's the crux of the matter. Because here we are, Lori Lightfoot is literally saying, y'all better have y'all asses in these classrooms. The teachers union said, we are happy to show up.
Hmm.
Can you get us some masks? Can you at least hook us up with the KN95 joints, which I believe the CDC is actually recommending now? So I find I find it fascinating that uh, that literally the day that this deal was brokered, and true to form, as the NPR article referenced, yeah, Lori had to cave, because the reality is teachers have never, and more importantly, teacher unions have never had more leverage. Listen, y'all can hem and haw and curse and fucking stomp your feet left and right. It wasn't like they said, no, we gonna have remote learning or else. They they, being the teachers union, simply stated, fam, can we at least have some sort of game plan for if the shit get really bad? Can we at least talk about, okay, this the this school X is absolutely COVID central. You got half of a fucking class of every classroom out, and we shut down the building for a week. Ironically, in the endeavor to have everything the way that the mayor's office wanted it to be, they kind of ended up looking like assholes. Like Lori Lightfoot's office saying, well, I don't believe this should have resulted in a work stoppage. Then why don't you just give in to the shit 2 weeks ago? Then you're not out here with egg on your face. If the most important thing is to avoid a work stoppage, because it really wasn't a work stoppage, it was they ain't doing what I want them to do. Well, shit.
Well, that's still a work stoppage, bro.
No, what they what Lori Lightfoot and the mayor's office were trying to allege is that it was an illegal work stoppage.
Mm.
And when you have a union, you have all sorts of mechanisms by which you can broker better treatment.
Including a work stoppage.
A legal work stoppage,
Well,
more
I'm not
importantly.
saying it was legal or illegal.
More
I'm just saying it
importantly,
is a work stoppage.
more
That's all I'm
importantly,
saying.
the, the 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 devil is in the details, and in this case, they didn't even say we gonna stop working. We just said, well, we definitely not gonna be there in person. Not while you got all these these uh COVID test kits just hanging out by the FedEx box outside, right? That happened, right?
So they say.
I mean, you can fact check us all you want. That shit happened,
No, I'm just playing.
and that's on Lori's watch. And while she's you know quarantining for the next 5 days at home, she's insisting that every teacher do something a little different. And all those teachers are really saying, and all this organization is really saying, fam, can we at least have a standard for at what point we should shut a building down? Jason talked about it though. It says, is there a threshold?
I mean,
Which means,
there is one. Just what is it? You know.
well, that's what that. Here's the thing: whatever they agree to isn't 100% even published yet because the teachers union has to ratify it. So it's not even 100% public yet. But the point is, we can speak in generality saying, okay, obviously, in order to maintain in person learning, there is going to have to be an acceptable amount of positivity in schools, right?
And of course, the debate is shouldn't that be zero?
That's not viable. That's
Nah,
not viable.
You know what? No, no, no,
You
no,
know that's not
no,
viable.
no,
Fam,
no, 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 no. Stop it. I know
you're
you.
saying stop it. You asked the question.
I know you love that word viable. I know you love that. It's your favorite word. You probably have it like on a frame in your bedroom somewhere. Viable. I can go further with that joke, but I'll leave it alone.
Can
But
you?
how much time you got? But yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. That's what my point. But the threshold. Okay, great that you have one. But my whole point is, shouldn't that threshold be zero? Which I know is not going to be the case. Not that it's not because it's not viable, like some people want to say but when it comes to the measures of safety and not just keeping this all spreading around the school. Because yeah, I agree. Masking, as I've said before on the show, masking is important. But that's you trusting that every single person is wearing their mask all the time. And I know we mentioned 300,000 students across all levels, grade levels, whatnot. I'm sure from kindergarten all the way through high school. And I don't care what age range you're talking about. Are you willing to trust that every kid everywhere is always going to wear a mask all the time?
Instead of coming up with a absolute scenario where everything has to go right, this is not a fucking space shuttle launch, okay? This is
Mm,
simply about giving an opportunity to give, ironically, COVID doesn't care whether you're a teacher or not. We're talking
agreed.
principals, janitors, support staff, you name it.
Mayors.
By every by actually having the right equipment on the ground, ironically, the chances for success for this operation go up exponentially. So that's the great irony is that the mayor's office wanted shit a certain way, ignoring the fact that had they just acquiesced to some of these safeguards, I don't know, a month ago.
Listen, yeah, I completely agree. I agree with Lightfoot. Yeah, the kids, need to be back in school. Not going to disagree with that because because being back in school is better educationally than not having school at all. I agree with that there. I also agree that the students, if they're going to be on school, if they're going to be in school, they should have better protections when it comes to best match possible. Testing, which I think they're kind of flawed in that based off what I was reading this recent article. As I was saying before, it's not necessarily that Lori Lightfoot wants kids back in school. She wants them to still be educated, right?
That's
I'm
not what
sure.
you want. Lori Lightfoot doesn't give a fuck about that. Lori Lightfoot knows that this is the part that you're not supposed to say out loud, but we're gonna have to. Um, the public school system is basically a babysitting operation, and that's what a good chunk of our economy is effectively utilizing it for.
Okay,
And that's the part you're not supposed to say out loud. I don't think there's any way, I don't think there's any getting away from it. You if if you're some of us are in a wonderful position, we can work remote. A lot of us don't have that, and it's a catch 22, right? Because maybe when all things are equal, maybe in person is in fact the safest place that it can be.
I'm going to call BS on that, but keep going.
But when you're operating, when you're in when you're in a metropolitan area like Chicago or New York, where it's been well documented how shitty and dilapidated some of the education facilities are in these cities, some of this stuff is going to ring a little hollow by a figurehead like Lori Lightfoot. That's all I got.
Oh, you actually are done talking for once? Oh, okay. Wow. Banner moment here again. No, no. So yeah, I'm not disagreeing with anything you just said there. When it comes to some facilities are a little dilapidated, not perfect, not state of the art, what have you. Not disagreeing when it comes to the education system for some people is used as a babysitting service, and I get that. But the fact of the matter is, at what point does that for now anyway? At what point does that need to be thrown out the window?
Which part of it?
The whole obviously the whole facilities you can't really change that short of new construction, which obviously that's not on the table here. But I'm referring to the babysitting part of it. I understand that, but the fact of the matter is, we are still in a pandemic. Are we not, Terrence? Yes or no?
We are.
And are things not surging as of right now, Terrence? Yes or no?
They're absolutely
It's either
surging.
yes or no, bro. I don't
They're
need to hear any.
absolutely surging.
I don't need to hear any other BS you're gonna throw in there. It's either
Well, you
yes or
got
no.
it. It's a package deal, champ.
Yeah, well, they once used to say me and you were a package deal, and now here we are. Um, so that's but yeah, so okay, yeah, I did the whole babysitting service, but obviously we're dealing with a surging pandemic as of right now. Whether it's a lesser powerful variant or whatever doesn't really matter. But yet we're pushing to have kids in school because it's supposedly the safest place, which again I think is complete BS. When the availability for remote learning has been there before and still can be used. And some could say, me included, that how we stay remote learning until the pandemic's been over, we wouldn't be going through this surge of the Omicron variant right now. Not saying the schools are totally to blame for the spread of it, but they're not helping it. So that's the part that I don't get. The whole schools are the safest place to be, which obviously is not the case since they had this whole dispute in the first place. You know, and the whole babysitting part of it. Well, guess what? I understand that. I'm sure to some degree I know somebody who's gone through that. But at the same time, and like I said before, at what point does that need to get put out the window? Should that still be a concern for any school district? That part of it, or is it more of a point where certain parents need to figure it the f out and do something else? Because again, this isn't normal times right now. Unfortunately, I'd love to say 3 years later or 2 years later we'd be done with this stuff, but we're not. Clearly,
I also don't want to make use this as a well. If you strongly believe that your parent that you're as a parent that you want your kids in person, I don't think you're an asshole. I don't. I don't. I also think that now's the time to show a little grace. The only entity I'm not showing a lot of grace for is politicians
well,
because I know what Lori Lightfoot's trying to say. Eric Adams, by the way, in New York, is saying some of the same shit. He's just saying it a little crazier. Like, I consider it incredibly tone deaf the way Eric Adams is going about his business in New York. And that's not just related to the school stuff, it's other things as well. But yeah, this is the latest and greatest standoff related to um, COVID, teachers union, the mayor's office. And I suspect it won't be the last. So
you know how on NBC they had all those Chicago shows, Chicago PD, Chicago Fire, Chicago Med, even had a Chicago Justice one. I feel like NBC's missing the boat here. I think they should have Chicago Teachers Union or something, bro.
Chicago Public.
Yeah, boom, exactly, bro, exactly. That needs to be the next show on NBC, Chicago Public, coming on at 9 p.m. after Chicago Fire and Chicago PD. Make it happen, NBC. If you're watching
Tune
this, make
in.
that happen. Tune it in right there.
Yeah. All right. That concludes our segment on the standoff between the Chicago Teachers Union and Lori Lightfoot. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about a NFL MVP voter that says he will not be voting for one Aaron Rodgers. Coming up next on Cal Park Bros.